Hi, my name is Brandon, and I'm an alcoholic and addict in recovery. Today I'm going to talk about step 3. This is a step that was intimidating to me at first and eventually has become one of the most important steps that in my recovery, and it's one that I really hold dear because I say the step 3 prayer every morning, and we'll get into that in just a minute. The text of step 3 is made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understood him. And so when I first read this on the walls of the AA meetings I was going to, I started feeling defensive because turning my will and my life over to God kind of felt like I was just going to be a monk the rest of my life. I wasn't sure what that really meant. And that wasn't something that I wanted to do. It felt like maybe I was having to give up the person I was, which in some ways is true. But what I didn't realize at the time was that I was also getting back the person I was before my addiction. And that was a person that I hadn't really known for a long time. So step 3 is really cool because it gets us into a place where we start to reconnect with parts of ourselves that have been there before, but that we just lost sight of. I want to read this step 3 prayer because I think it's really important. This is a prayer that I read every morning. I say every morning, first thing in the morning, because it's the idea behind step 3 is that when I try to control life, when I try to make life run on my own will, things don't go very well. So I need to turn my will over to my higher power, the power greater than myself, whatever that I believe in. I call that God out of convenience, but my higher power is just the universe in general, all the people around me, nature, everything that's outside of me and of which I am part. And other people have different ideas. You might have a higher power that is the group in Alcoholics Anonymous, the group of friends that you have in recovery. And you can turn your life and your will over to them in terms of being of service and asking them for advice before you make big decisions, that kind of thing. So there's all sorts of different ways to incorporate this. The idea is that you stop thinking of yourself as the center of things and start thinking of yourself as a part of things. And so real quick, reading the prayer, and then I want to get into what Tommy Rosen says about this in his book. The prayer is, and you say this prayer to your higher power as you understand your higher power. God, I offer myself to thee to build with me and to do with me as thou wilt. Relieve me of the bondage of self, that I may better do thy will. Take away my difficulties, that victory over them may bear witness to those I would help of thy power, thy love, and thy way of life. May I do thy will always. And this is just a great reminder for me every morning that, what I really want to do is help other people. I want to let go of my difficulties. So that's another thing that's a part of step 3, is that step 3 is about letting go of the things that hold us back, that the things that make life more difficult for us sometimes. And as addicts and alcoholics, we tend to hold on to things, and that's how we form resentments. We tend to keep things because we feel like that gives us control over them, and we need to learn to let go of things because we never have had control in the first place. That's kind of an illusion. So all of this really is wrapped up in step 3. It's important to really talk to, if you're going through the steps with a sponsor, really talk through what is the meaning of step 3. Do some deep dives into that. It's an important step to understand, and that's why I want to read some of what Tommy Rosen says about it in Recovery 2.0. He's got a really good way of putting it. And he says, now we are about to make a big decision that will shift the way we see ourselves in the world. So this is shifting us out of seeing ourselves as being at the center of the world and into seeing ourselves as just a part of the world and the universe. The root of the word decision is decise, which means to cut away. If you're the type of person who has a hard time making decisions, part of the reason might be that you are unwilling to let go of something. For when we make a decision, we are cutting away something so that something else can take its place. Here in step 3, we are cutting away the part of our ego that would have us continue to live a life of disconnection based upon our own self-will. We have been doing that for some time, and it hasn't played out well. Aligning the will of a power greater than ourselves means that we are going to realize the truth about our own misalignment. Most of us have looked at ourselves as doers. We make things happen. Yet, how can we really take full credit for anything? Everything is a co-creation with forces and powers beyond our full perception and understanding. The universe is moving without my help, and I believe it's wise to learn about how that movement happens and align with it rather than struggling to make things happen on my own. So step 3 is really just a realization that we are open to and recognize the collaboration taking place in this life. Here in step 3, we are making a decision to look at the universe as it presents itself and get into the flow of it all. We're walking through a mystical archway. Once through it, we begin to take life on life's terms, which is another one of my favorite 12-step sayings. So going back to what he says about how we make things happen. When I was in my addiction, that was a big part of my ego and pride was I made things happen. I was a doer, and I took control. I took the reins. You can think of all sorts of different ways to put it. And it was all about control. Now, when you get down to the root of it, people who want control because they're trying to fight against fear. And that's something that you really will get into when you start getting into step 4, when you start looking at your fears and the way that your fears really play on that desire for control. And that was certainly it for me. I felt like the more control I had, the less I had to fear. That wasn't true. The control was rooted in fear. The fear was still there. I just kind of dealt with it by trying to take more and more control in life. By taking more and more control in life, I was exercising my self-will over forces that were not bending to me. And that created chaos, it created confusion, it created hurt, and eventually it got me to a point where I was deep in my addiction and could not even function, could not even get up off the ground to go brush my teeth and get ready for the day. And so it wasn't until I learned that I am not in control, and it wasn't until I addressed the fear that was at the base of that desire for control, it wasn't until that point that I started moving forward through what he calls this mystical archway. And once I started being able to take life on life's terms and stop trying to control everything, then things started to change quite a bit for me. And all of a sudden, I felt something that I never thought I would feel in life. The dissipation of fear. Fear started to go away. And all these things that I had been trying to keep from happening, I was trying to protect myself from being hurt. I was trying to protect my ego, my pride. I was trying to control the way people saw me. Once I stopped doing all of that, once I stopped trying to control everything, peace came in to take the place of that fear. Contentment came in to take the place of that fear. Once I started to move the fear out, the space that was left was filled with peace and contentment. And it's daily work. It's not something that, okay, it happened once and now I'm good to go. It's something that it's daily work. And I still, that sense of control, that need for control will come back. And I have to exercise everything I've learned in step 3 and the other steps to make more space again. In fact, one thing I've learned is that life is a process of making space in ourselves for emotions like peace and contentment to come in. We've got to continually do that. It's something that we have to work on every day. But once I was able to do that, then I saw how my fear was driving my need for control, how that need for control driven by self-will was really causing so many problems in my life. And as soon as I moved away from that, things started to change in very significant ways. So step 3 is an important one. It is one that seems a little intimidating with the way that it's written, but the point of step 3 is that we're really starting to make some changes in the way we see ourselves in the universe, the way we see ourselves operating, and we start to realize that there's more to life than just the people who are living it. There's more to life than just us, and we start to explore how we're connected with all of that. We also start to address the fear at the base of our need for control, move that out, and make room for some of the emotions that really allow us to live life without even wanting to drink or drug. That's it for today. I'll be back tomorrow with more. Have a good one.